Hey, and welcome back to Game Talk. I'm your host, Sam Mion. Today I'm joined by Connor.
Hey, guys.
And Mike.
Hello.
And it comes to my attention that most of you do not listen to the end of episode spiel that I do. So, armed with that knowledge, I will now plug the Discord at the beginning of the show. So, click the link in the description of this episode, or any episode for that matter, to join our Discord and chat with us about video games. Do it.
Gentlemen, I would like to make a quick announcement.
Go ahead.
My 2-year-long odyssey to find a graphics card has finally come to an end. I made the PC Gamer Mecca to a Micro Center this weekend and was able to finally get a graphics card that I don't owe to another person.
Are they that out of stock still?
Yes.
Uh-oh.
Except 4080s. Well, no, you can get 30 series stuff now on eBay and stuff like that. They're easier to find, but now there was newer stuff out, and I like...
No, I figure the high end's out of stock right now, but if
the high 4090s are out of
ends.
stock. 7900 XTX is out of stock.
Yeah.
But Micro Center,
what graphics
a little bit of
card
everything.
Did you get, Connor?
What did I get?
The people out there. Because people have been following this story with bated breath for the past 2 years.
I did purchase a Power Color Red Devil 7900 XTX.
So I'm very familiar with NVIDIA graphics cards, but 7900 XTX, isn't that like the...
It is the top of the line AMD
flagship
card.
Yeah,
it's
okay.
a little cheaper than a 4080 and outperforms it on rasterization, but NVIDIA is still ahead on ray trace performance. I will say, it's running great for me so far, ray trace included. Portal RTX ran pretty bad. I was running it at 1080 to get it to like a playable like high 40s to 60 frame per second. But
so did you have to like upgrade any other components to run this thing?
No.
Like you have the right power supply?
I had the right
and
power
motherboard
supply and everything already. I don't actually meet the power supply listed on the box, but the 5600X processor I got like sips power. So it just works fine.
That's pretty hype.
Yeah. I was playing Spider-Man Miles Morales, fully maxed out, including ray tracing, and it was over 60 FPS at 4K.
Yeah, that must have made your eyes bleed.
Yep, it was
in a good way.
Pretty delightful. Everything else like isn't even worth mentioning. Like it's all just knocking it out of the park. I don't do a lot of gaming at 4K either, so like mostly on my ultra wide 1440p monitor. So it's plenty for all that.
And you could probably like get max frames on that thing too.
Yeah.
What is it, 165?
Yeah, 165 hertz on my monitor. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Man.
If I don't have ray tracing on, I'm hitting that easily. Yeah. With ray tracing on, it's typically like 90 to 100 thereabout, which is what I've been doing because I like the pretty graphics and I'm not that good at games.
But yeah, congrats. I mean, like you said, it's been a long odyssey.
Yeah, it's been over 2
for you to
years,
reach this point. You've been scammed. You've been borrowing. You've been through all of it. So
yep,
you're finally here. You finally arrived.
I finally did it. Yep. I just would like to thank everybody that went on this journey with me.
Including, what's his name that scammed you?
Yeah, especially him.
Right.
That would be Bill something. He runs OG 10K Tech. Now he runs Black Swan Gaming. Don't buy from those companies. I don't think anyone's going to make that mistake anymore. He will be going to prison later this year, I'm pretty sure.
You want to take this opportunity to dox him?
No, I do not.
Okay. All right. So congrats, Connor. But I think today's episode, Connor brought this up, and it seems like a good topic. And it's been a while. By the way, a lot of tangents right off the bat. This is our first episode of 2023. So welcome to the new year, everyone. And we thought we'd kick it off with one of our traditional kind of like topic style episodes. So the topic for today is video game grinding in video games, which I don't think we've really discussed before. And since, Connor, you had the idea of discussing this today, why don't you kick things off for us?
So the thing that had really made me think of this was how much fun I'm having with Vampire Survivors, which is an inherently extremely grindy game, versus how unfun I think the new Sea of Thieves update is in its grind. The gameplay is very fun, but it does some really stupid stuff with the grind that it implements that I don't know why. I don't know why they did it that way, and I think it's very bad. I've also been somebody to avoid grind in games. Like, I don't think I've probably said this on the podcast before that I don't think you should ever have to grind in an RPG. It should be possible to just fight the enemies you run into and be at the right level when you get where you're going.
Right.
I stand by that, but I think a grind in a multiplayer game can be a good thing. Like a battle pass system or something. You know, I guess you have to pay for a battle pass, but what you're basically doing is paying for something to grind towards, right? And I think that's fine.
Yeah,
like Fortnite's grind
just
feels good to me.
looking at your two examples there, I mean, like Vampire Survivors is just like that game is just made out of dopamine. Right?
Yeah.
So the grind feels very good.
Yeah.
You're just constantly being hit with dopamine.
No, that's I mean that's what they get
game.
right is that you're constantly getting rewards for your grind. Whereas Sea of Thieves introduced a grind recently. It's their PvP grind, where you do not get a single reward until you reach level 100, which takes tens of hours. You don't get anything along the way.
That's
not
like
a single reward.
That's like some Korean MMO level
It's
grind.
genuinely insane to me that it was released like that. Like, I don't know what they were thinking. I mean, the gameplay is fun, don't get me wrong, and the reward you get at level 100 is pretty good. It just seems wrong to me. It's very discouraging. I'm at level 30 right now. I'm a third of the way there. And this update's been out, I think it came out early December, maybe late November, and I'm only a third of the way there, and I play this game a good bit, and I'm exhausted. And the end is not in sight, you know?
Yeah, that's crappy. I mean, like, I don't know. For me, I can't even remember the last time outside of like MapleStory I've willingly grinded in a game. Like, I think for me, getting into Souls-likes kind of eliminated grinding for me entirely. Like, I usually just, when I encounter an enemy, I'm like, all right, this is it. This is when I'm fighting this enemy. And if it crushes me, I'm just going to, like, I guess grind the enemy until I can beat it, right? Like, practice against the boss or whatever. But I never, like, go away and, like, level up and come back. I just, like, stop doing that.
I do. I think the most
don't know.
recent time I complained about it on the show was probably Omori, because I think that game is, like, all immaculate, but there is like one point where I had to walk away from the main quest and go just kill some enemies because I couldn't beat a boss. And I think I could have probably done what you did. I didn't understand the battle mechanics quite properly. I probably could have beaten it if I had a full understanding of what I was doing. So I would take that criticism away from Omori now, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, after like Dark Souls and everything, I really just gained an appreciation for like, and obviously like not everyone has the time or the patience to do this, but like I did gain an appreciation of like overcoming an insurmountable wall, right? And that wall can artificially be like chipped away at by, you know, like leveling up or whatever, but 9 times out of 10 I'll just bash my head against that wall until that wall falls.
But that's just one kind of grind reward. Sea of Thieves, the reward is not like getting stronger. It's just a cosmetic that I really want. And
yeah, okay, so I've mentioned this on the show before, but I just do not understand grinding for cosmetics. Maybe it's because I'm an old man. I would never, like, I have no inclination to do that.
maybe, but you also played through Super Mario Odyssey in the default clothes. So
I did, yes,
yeah,
I did.
I think that says that says a lot about
I don't
your.
like customizing my character.
Yeah,
Usually,
you're just not interested. But I think obviously, like cosmetics are where most monetization lies these days in a lot of these games. So I think you're the outlier there.
I definitely am. Yep.
But I don't know. But like a game like Monster Hunter or Vampire Survivor or MapleStory, like those games are just grind. That's all there is to the game. But the grind is just so fun. It's both intrinsically and extrinsically rewarding because you're getting reward. Yeah,
that's kind of how I feel about Warframe. Actually, I was going to mention that in grind because it's just
it's all grind. Yeah,
I mean, all of these MMOs like Warframe, Destiny, like MapleStory, like these games need to figure out grind. Otherwise, there's no game there.
Like,
right? Like,
if the game is fun, the grind is fine. Like, if I'm actively having fun while grinding, then it's fine.
I don't necessarily agree with that because I am having fun playing Sea of Thieves, but throw me a bone. Like, I don't want to put over 100 hours in. And I almost think it would be more fun if there was no reward. Like, if there was no level, because I think I would be doing the same thing. But like the fact that the reward I want is so far out ahead of me, Like, it just feels like I'll never get it, and that's...
I mean, do you think the reward is worth it? Like, if it was a better reward, would you be more inclined to do it?
No, I don't think the reward there is the problem. I think there should be other rewards along the way, because I do think the level 100 reward is worth getting to level 100. It's a curse that lets you play as either a skeleton or a ghost, depending on which faction you're playing. And people have been wanting that since launch. It's extremely cool. And that makes sense as the level 100 reward. It's just the fact that there's nothing along the way at all. It's just exhausting.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, when someone mentions grind, like you mentioned, multiplayer grind is probably the most popular nowadays, but the one that, like, immediately jumped to my mind was, like, RPGs, JRPGs.
Yeah, and I typically hate those. But that's mandatory grind, right? Like, I play Halo Infinite, and when I'm playing with my buddy Tyler typically, and he is grinding in a way because he wants the cosmetic rewards. I just like Halo. So I'm sidestepping that grind. I can get all my enjoyment out of the game without ever partaking in it, which I guess is true of Sea of Thieves as well. But in like an RPG, if I want to see the end of the game, oftentimes I have to grind, and that's extremely frustrating to me.
And like, I mean, I definitely have been sucked into like Battle Pass style grinds in the past. I think the most recent example would be Rumbleverse, right? Like when I got pretty into Rumbleverse last year. And there was a time in my mind where I was like, okay, I'm going to max out this battle pass. But very quickly that desire goes away. I don't know. I guess it's just, at the end of the day, the cosmetic rewards just aren't worth it for me. It just be like more the fact that like, look how much, like, I have the level 100 cosmetic, which is cool, which indicates like a sort of like devotion to the game. But at the same time, it's kind of undermined by the fact that someone could just pay and get there.
Yeah, I think that does undermine it a little. Yeah,
and a lot of battle passes are structured that way.
Yeah, I guess my problem is like I bought the newest Fortnite battle pass, or I didn't spend money on it. I already had V-Bucks from a past one I bought, but there was one skin in it I wanted, and it was like level 36 or something. I got to level 36. I'm still playing Fortnite, but I'm done with this battle pass. I don't care anymore because I don't like. I guess I'm somebody who doesn't... I don't think you're cool for having the max level skin. Like, that means nothing to me. I just wanted the one I thought looked cool, which is the Doomslayer, if anybody was wondering.
Right.
So, I see what you're saying, where, like, yeah, it does kind of devalue it because other people could pay to get there, but that never really had any value for me in the first place, and I imagine many people think that way.
Yeah, I mean, like, when it comes to games like, Persona 5, for example, like, I think you can get through that game without grinding, right?
Yeah, I never did any grinding in it, and I got very near the end.
Yeah. So I think JRPGs, that's how JRPGs should be designed. Like, yes, it's, I guess, maybe harder if you don't grind, but, like, it should be doable without grinding. And I know for a fact that there are JRPGs out there where it's mandatory to grind, and I'm not a fan of that.
Yeah, especially like older, like I tried to get into the early Dragon Quest games, and even the modern ones had like Dragon Quest 11 had a little bit of grinding to it. Fortunately, and this is almost like a knock to it. It had an auto battle system, so you didn't even have to be the one doing the grinding, which is kind of.
Then what's the point? Like, if there's an auto battle, like, why even?
I mean, you got to see the monsters, I guess, but yeah, I agree. Yeah. Like, what was the point? And I will say. It gets a bit of a pass in my opinion because there is actually a kind of fun way to optimize the grind that I don't want to spoil for people. But there's a way to get like certain monsters to appear, and then when you kill them, you get like a boatload of EXP and can grind very quickly, like max level in like an hour, maybe 2 hours. And I think that's neat mechanically, but I still do wonder like maybe for like extra stuff you can leave that in, but I would like to have been able to beat the base game without grinding at all.
Yeah.
Because at that point, like at some point, I guess grinding becomes a weird one-way difficulty slider where like once you get over leveled, it's not really fun anymore and there's no way to make yourself weaker, but also being too weak isn't very fun either.
Yeah, I mean like I think it really is all an exercise in dopamine management,
Yeah.
The best grinds are designed with that in mind. Like, with Maple Story, I know like that's an example I keep returning to, but that's the most prominent example of grind I can think of that I participate in. Like I level up a character during a burning event, which means like you level 2 times every one time you level, right? So that's, even more dopamine, right? But like I level up that character to roughly like 150-ish. And that's sort of the point where like it actually takes effort to start leveling,
Yeah.
for lack of a better term. And then I just sort of feel done. Like 9 times out of 10. Like sometimes I do push beyond, but like I've definitely had the majority of my fun at that point.
Yeah. Another example of grind that isn't like dopamine heavy that I really like is Monster Hunter, where like it's still a grind, but like you're fighting the same monster over and over because you need parts to build your armor often. But just because you're fighting the same monster, the game's mechanics are diverse enough that like not every fight is going to be exactly the same. And so I think that makes it a more fun, but it is still inherently like an extremely grindy game. It is like the game has one trick. The one trick is like cool boss fights, and you're just doing them over and over and over. So it is inherently grind.
Yeah.
But I can fight the same monster back to back a few rounds in Monster Hunter and still have a very good time.
I definitely feel like my patience for grinding has pretty much expired as I've gotten older.
Mine's gone.
Right?
Like everybody that wants
remember-
EXP share to be gone in Pokemon, I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, absolutely
I remember
not.
when I was little, right? Like Pokemon was actually going to be my example. I used to like, for no reason, right? Like I'd used to just like level everyone up to 100, and then there was really no point in doing that, right?
Yeah, I know. I've
Like-
never done it. When I was a kid in Pokemon, I ran from every wild battle, and I was always cripplingly underleveled for everything.
But yeah, at this point, I guess there is a sort of, comfort or like Zen-like state that can be found in doing such a thing. But like, I don't know. Now that I'm older than I was back then, like I just don't have the patience. Like I don't really care. Like once I finished Pokemon, oh my god, I'm drawing a blank. What were the latest ones called?
Scarlet and Violet.
Scarlet and Violet. Once I finished Violet, like once I beat the Elite Four and I did Area Zero or whatever, I was just done. Like once I saw the credits, right? Like I didn't really even touch the post game. Like I might one of these days, but like,
I bet you'll be back for the DLC.
yeah, probably. Although I only like dipped my toe in the Sword and Shield DLC, but
I never got it. I never beat Sword and Shield. Yeah,
I don't know. Like it's just there's just not enough time anymore to do that, I feel like.
well, I think
And or my attention span isn't as long, maybe.
yeah, it's funny how much I loathe character progression grind, like in RPGs and stuff. Whereas there's something extremely satisfying to me about a personal grind, like Spelunky, where it is, you're throwing yourself at the same brick wall over and over, but just getting a little farther each time. I would say that's also a grind, where you're learning more about the game and just getting a little bit better. But the intrinsic, like, personal growth of that feel, and much like Dark Souls, like you were saying, you would rather literally grind your skill at the game than grind your character.
Exactly, yeah.
And that just feels extremely good. And even in real life, you'll see grinds. Like people like working out. Like there's something very satisfying about seeing the amount of weight you can pick up go up. So, and
Man,
those grinds are, I love those.
Yeah, Mike, do you have any examples?
For a grind? Warframe. I mean, Battle Pass is a grind. Literally everywhere now. If a AAA game that comes out in the next, 2 years doesn't have a Battle Pass, is it even a AAA game at this point?
I mean,
I don't know.
Sony doesn't put out a lot of Battle Passes.
I was going to say,
If a
Sony's
AAA
the
multiplayer
one-
game comes out, a correction.
I don't think they're in the
Right, yeah.
wrong, though. Like, I don't know.
It just feels really weird that every game has a Battle Pass, and my biggest bugbear with Battle Passes is actually Overwatch 2 right now. And to a lesser extent, Gundam Evolution, but
I don't have a... Yeah, you continue, sorry.
The thing about a Battle Pass is it's meant to be cosmetic rewards, and just there should be no pressure to buy it, but Overwatch is putting actual characters in the Battle Pass that you have to grind for.
That's terrible.
Their newest characters are a grind.
I hate that.
And
like you're saying, I think...
unless you pay for the Battle Pass, then they're not a grind.
I don't have a problem with the Battle Pass, like when it's good. Like the Fortnite Battle Pass, in my opinion, not only adds the rewards, but makes the game more fun because it gives you little side objectives to go do. And I think that's great. I think Battle Passes...
You know it's bad when Overwatch's Battle Pass makes me wish it still had loot boxes.
Yeah, really. And like I hate the Battle Pass in Fall Guys. I think it's very poorly implemented because it's just points. Like it's literally just play, you know, it's telling me like, hey, do that thing you already wanted to do because the game is fun. Except now, like, we're tracking your progress on it. I don't like that so much.
I think my least favorite thing about Battle Passes is that you can't go back and do an old Battle Pass. Once it's gone, it's gone. That content is lost forever.
Yeah, I think Halo Infinite didn't time lock their Battle Passes. I think Halo Infinite, you can go back to a previous Battle Pass at any time, it's consumer friendly.
Yeah, it forces addiction to a game to be like, I need to keep playing this game. Or else I'm going to miss out on this Battle Pass. Yeah.
It's FOMO. Yeah.
For those uninitiated, fear of missing out is a common... I mean, if you've ever seen a sale and thought, you know, I need to buy this today because it's going to be more expensive tomorrow, that's FOMO.
Yeah,
I don't know, man. What I will say is the most fun I've ever had with a multiplayer game is Halo 3, and that game had no Battle Pass.
Yeah, for sure.
So. Battle Passes just make me want to play the game more, but not for the reason that I want to play games, just because I would need to complete the Battle Pass because I'm going to lose out on the $10 I spent.
I think that's what's frustrating me so much about Sea of Thieves and their new grind that I really don't like, is that it has a bunch of examples of pretty good grind. And what I think is so great about them is that I finished a lot of those grinds without even knowing they were there. Like, it was just stuff in the game that I wanted to do. And over time, just messing around in the sandbox, I looked and I was like, hey, I've already almost finished this. I'm going to focus on it for a bit so that I can get the reward at the end. And I think that's great. And I got rewards along the way on all of those. And just for messing around in the sandbox. But then they released this very, very focused PvP grind where, like, if you are doing this grind, you almost certainly cannot be doing anything else. And there are no rewards for 100 hours.
See,
that's wild, man.
Yeah.
Like the way Warframe does their grind is that it actually limits you on how much standing you can get with each of the open worlds in a day. So like 2, 3, 4 missions, depending on how high of a honor rank or whatever it is, I can't remember the name of the ranks anymore, is how much standing you can gain in a day. Then you have to come back the next day when the servers reset. So it limits your grind for a day. Once you do your standing worth of grind, which you can do in maybe an hour, you don't have to play the game again.
There's actually a really fun, famous game development story about that with World of Warcraft. They actually like looked and they thought people are playing our game too long every day. And they put in a system to limit how much EXP you got after a certain amount of time. And obviously the players hated that because they felt like they were having something taken away from them. So they went in, they didn't change the numbers pretty much at all as the story goes. But instead of wording it as the EXP decreasing after a certain amount of time, they changed it that you got bonus EXP for the first hour of play, I think it was.
That's so funny.
Yeah, and the numbers were exactly the same, or at least very similar, but players didn't hate it anymore because it was being presented as a bonus for logging in that day.
Right.
Like, you can cut down on the amount people sit and grind by just telling them that's enough. You don't need to play the game anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Fortnite has a pretty good system for that in their Battle Pass where the first 3 missions you do of the day are worth significantly more EXP than anything after that. I don't know if it does that for the weeklies, but I know the first 3 dailies you do, you get way more. And so, like, typically, and you can knock those out in one game if you're, like, focusing on them. So that's typically what I'll do. If I'm not actually wanting to sit down and play a bunch of it and I want to unlock something in the Battle Pass, I'll log in, do my 3 missions and 1 or 2 games, and then call it a day. And, like, I don't know, that doesn't feel too bad. I guess they're still, like, using addictive tendency to make me turn on the game once a day, but
it's not as bad.
Yeah, it feels like they respect my time to a certain extent.
I mean, even, like, the worst part about it is even, like, triple A non-multiplayer games will throw grind in like an open world just because they want it there. They want you to play their game for 600, 700 hours.
Yeah, and I'm definitely
The copy pasted content in open worlds, that's unacceptable.
Open
Yeah.
world games are
Unacceptable to me,
so
yeah.
bad right now because there's just you get like 1 or 2 good ones a year, and then the rest of them is just, hey, go here, do thing, go to next thing, do the same thing you did.
I mean, even Breath
I
of the
hope
Wild
games
had
like
it
go
had like
ahead.
20 tests of strength or whatever, and those just shouldn't have been in the game. Like, honestly,
just
the game would have
padding
just
for
been better
content.
without those shrines at all, in my opinion.
I think we're finally reaching critical mass for open world games, and they're going to start to disappear.
Yeah, I mean, I think they
And
have.
hopefully they do.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
we reached that critical mass like a few years ago. Honestly, there was a period of time, in like maybe the mid to late 2010s, where like everyone was making open world games and only open world games. And now I think we're seeing a lot more diversity.
Yeah,
because,
we're
like,
seeing more
people got
focused games.
fatigued on that.
I think it's
Open worlds
also
can
a
be
part of
great,
that is
but
it's so expensive to build an open world now.
oh yeah. I mean, Valheim's open world's great, but then again, it's a procedurally generated open world, so
Yeah, I don't even know. I once you're into procedural generation, I don't know. Like, I'm not gonna call Minecraft an open world game. Like,
yeah, that's where I think procedural generation's where the fun is because it's the joy of finding things more or less than just going there to do a generic activity.
yeah, I
Yeah,
think.
I mean, like you still get the joy of finding things in like designed open worlds,
As long
like
as you're not on
Elden
the
Ring
internet.
and Breath of the Wild. But like even those two examples, which are the two best open world games I've ever played, have copy pasted content.
Yeah.
which is, I think, a problem. But because like, I think at a certain point when you're developing an open world, you just think you have to fill it up with things to do, which isn't necessarily wrong. But like, maybe then give it the time that you need to get unique stuff in there rather than copy paste like bosses or dungeons or whatever.
I mean, the ballooning cost of games could be solved by just making them smaller.
I agree with that to an extent.
yeah,
I it is more complicated than that because like a lot of the stuff I complain about that like stuff that should get left on the cutting room floor in games, like how I think maybe, if you couldn't get the puzzles right in God of War, you shouldn't have put them in at all. I think that's a bitter pill to swallow because they probably didn't know they were bad until they were already done. Like,
Yeah, I think
it,
we're getting massive feature creep in the AAA sphere, but there's nothing you can do to stop it because there's a lot of money in that sphere.
yeah. And that, yeah.
I mean, like that kind of like spirals into a different discussion, but like, I think it is a discussion worth having.
Oh,
like
yeah.
Jason Schreier, arguably the man with the most like inside knowledge on the gaming industry, just like by virtue of who he has access to. Like he's been saying over and over again that AAA gaming is heading for a massive crash because it is completely unsustainable as it is right now, and something needs to be done. Like he said, what did he say? Like he said, like towards the end of 2022, that if a AAA game started development right now for PS5 and Xbox Series X, or started development like right now, like started, it would not be released until the next console cycle,
Yeah,
which is an absurd thing to think about.
like
Yeah.
I've noticed that some of my more favorite games in like the last 3-4 years have been smaller games, little indie games, even like double A games, not even full AAA releases.
Yeah, and I think a part of
I
that...
definitely have an appreciation for that, but like, I mean, you know me, right? Like Elden Ring was my favorite game last year, so I can't really call that a small
alternatively,
game.
AAA releases that launched like 7 years ago that I'm finally playing because they're now affordable.
My favorite 2 games that came out last year were like Elden Ring and Tunic, and both of them, like, I think Tunic...
Polar opposites.
well, I don't know about that.
Well,
because
I mean, in terms of, I guess, scope.
in terms of team
but,
size
like,
and scope, yeah,
yeah.
but like Tunic also took like over 5 years to make, I'm pretty sure. Like, even indie games, don't necessarily come quick. Omori took like 5 or 7 years to make, I think. Like, it really...
That's crazy.
Yeah. I know Omori took long enough to make that people thought it was going to be like vaporware. People didn't think it was ever going to come out.
Yeah, I mean, 7 years, that's like, nothing should take 7 years to make. That's That's insanity.
But I feel like I do not doubt Elder Scrolls 6 will have been in development for 7 years before it comes out. Like,
yeah, I mean, like, is it even in development right now? That's a
I can't
question
imagine
kind
it's
of worth
not
asking.
on some level.
Yeah.
Like maybe
on
it's just
some level,
writing, but
a very beginning level, maybe.
Development cycles are so long now. Like this is why you announce a game now, like a AAA game, and people are like, "Why hasn't it come out yet?" For 7 years.
yeah,
And
I
this
mean,
is like
And like
a
it's probably
problem
not
that
even
is-
in production yet.
This is a problem that's relatively recent, right? Like it wasn't too long ago, like early 2010s, where we were getting AAA games like every 2-3 years, like that.
Like
that was
put it
happening.
in development, and 3 years later, games
But
out.
yeah, like yeah. But now, like it's just like even a sequel. Like let me use God of War as a AAA example, right? God of War came out in 2018. Its sequel, which ran on the same engine, used a lot of the same assets, right? Was also a PS4 game largely, right? That got like upgrades for PS5. Took 4+ years to make.
yeah, Tears of the
Which,
Kingdom as well. I mean,
Yeah, Tears of the Kingdom, same situation.
it's going
right?
to have
Like,
been almost
same
6
engine.
years. Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
game. I think that's why, and this is still grind related too, because in a way the game developers are now grinding.
yeah.
So like
They always
Good
were
point.
though. Yeah.
it's the reason why all of our games are so buggy on launch now, is because the publisher just has to put them out and put something out
well,
to
that's
make
something
money back, because they've been in development for 7 or 8 years now.
That's something that's kind of worn me out. I have a friend who, like, a bunch of games that we like to play have, like, gotten significant updates. But he's like, I don't know if I want to jump back in because, like, we don't have, I want a sequel. I don't want to expand the game we have. But, like, the amount of development time that it would take to, like, make a ground-up sequel versus, like, a live service game, which is what they are.
I mean, I just want to say, like, to your friend here, you better get used to the idea of expanding games, because that is the way forward for the AAA space, at least. Like,
I mean, but you
there's
also
no
like,
way sequels upon sequels upon sequels can
We're
come
done
out with
with
these 5,
that.
6, 7 year dev cycles.
And
I think
again,
the
like,
only
just
one
not-
who has managed to keep their dev cycle short is Call of Duty, and that's
Yeah.
because they don't iterate anymore.
Yeah, I mean, that's because they have 3+ studios with, like, God knows how many satellite studios working on those.
All of
games,
Activision.
So.
and I also have like the contrasting examples of like I've mentioned before on this episode already, Sea of Thieves is like held together by duct tape. Yeah, I think that game could really benefit from like a start from scratch sequel so that they can like address some of the colossal technical debt that they have. Like, those servers barely work. It has huge issues with the combat and stuff that could be fixed in a sequel, but, realistically will not be fixed in feature updates. Versus something like Fortnite, which is unrecognizable from its like original iteration. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that was an early access game, but like they've literally switched to a new engine that's running on. It's one of the only games out right now on Unreal 5. It has all this fancy new technology,
And I think
It
they
looks-
built it to be expanded pretty easily as well.
yeah. But it's like one of the most beautiful games out right now. And when Fortnite came out, it was ugly. Like,
Yeah. Like you eventually, as a game ages, it'll get to the point where the engine just can't keep up anymore. Look at League of Legends.
look at Minecraft Java Edition. Like, you're
League of
pushing up against-
Legends is an 11 or 12, 13-year-old game, and it shows the client barely runs most of the time because it's
and
held
some
together
games
by
release
duct
in
tape.
that state. Halo
Yeah.
Infinite released like already pushing up against weird limitations that they ran into in development.
It's like, I feel like after a live service game goes on for long enough, you just need to take it down to eat the loss and just rewrite the engine, because it's technology moves forward and eventually it's just not going to work as the way you want it to do anymore.
Yeah, I don't.
You're going on esoteric levels of code now that haven't been touched by another human being in 11 years.
I'm arguing semantics, and I know that. I don't know that engine. Like, I don't know that you need to go down to like the graphics pipeline and rewrite stuff. But like, I agree what you're saying. Where like the game code, like start from scratch, make it work with all the current feature set. I agree with you there.
Yeah. Like it.
Plus, as new technologies get developed, right? Like, you might not be able to harness those technologies completely without, starting with a new entry.
Right. I'm already dreading. I don't know if we talked about this on the show yet, but Returnal is coming to PC, and its recommended specs,
Yeah.
it wants 32 gigs of RAM
God, that's
in order
so much.
in order to kind of emulate the PS5's
The
SSD
loading,
because you
yeah.
can't assume a PC has an SSD right now. And the problem with that is like direct storage exists. Like that's the PC equivalent of the PS5's quick loading stuff. And it exists, and there are games in development with it right now, but likely Returnal either didn't get access to that yet because it's still new technology, or started development too early and didn't have access to it. And now it's just this game that's gonna never
use your
really
RAM.
work. Because 32 gigs of RAM is an absurd ask. I don't have that.
And that's the recommended. Like that's
Well, that's not the minimum.
Yeah.
The minimum is 16. The recommended is the higher of the two.
Because I think the way they're doing it is they're offloading all the data that they need to load from the SSD into RAM and just running the game off RAM.
That's also going to defeat the purpose in many ways because it's going to take so long to put all that in RAM that you're going to be sitting through this colossal load time at the beginning.
GTA
Probably.
level loading screen.
No, I can't
just
say for
to
sure
play
that
the
that's
game.
true, but like with my limited knowledge of like any of this, that's what I suspect is going
It's
to
a
happen.
clever solution.
Yeah,
though.
I'm remembering my time playing Returnal, and I feel like the load times were like non-existent.
Yeah, and I just don't think that's how it's gonna be on
that is
PC.
the goal.
Yeah,
But
I
we'll
think there's
see.
going to be like a fat load time when you launch the game to get it all in RAM. And then you're going to be okay after that. I don't know. We'll see. And maybe it will get direct storage. I don't know how like huge a rewrite of your game it would take to implement direct storage because that's not the kind of game I make. So
I do feel like it's gonna be painful this generation being ported to PC, just like it was 10, 15 years ago when everyone was
if we ever
developing
start
for
getting
360.
if we ever start getting actual PS5 exclusives, it's going to be pretty painful.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Returnal might be the harbinger of that.
Yeah. If we ever get Ratchet and Clank, it's going to have the same problem.
All that being said, play Returnal. It's like,
I'm going to. There's no.
it's
I
going
might
to-
buy
yeah.
another 16 gigs of
I
RAM
might
to
just
play
buy
Returnal.
it, yeah, I'll buy another 16 gigs
Yeah.
of RAM for it. But
RAM's not. Yeah, well, RAM's actually a little expensive right now, but that's okay.
a lot of people don't remember that 15-ish years ago when a game released from console to PC, it was a garbage fire every time.
I mean, look at Dark Souls.
I mean, we're still seeing a lot of that. Let's be real. Like,
Yeah. Oh my God, Elden
look at
Ring.
Elden Ring.
Yeah.
This is a good opportunity to report that
Callisto Protocol.
even on my new
as well,
graphics
I
card,
believe.
Elden Ring runs terribly.
God, how do they mess that up?
The fact of the matter is, for a lot of these games that release on both PC and console, PC, unfortunately, is the afterthought.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
The
actually
majority of the audience is on console.
Battlefield, and that's changing a little bit. PC is becoming very popular lately,
PC is
especially.
growing,
I mean,
yeah.
the Steam Deck I think sold 1 million units, and that's
And Steam
a PC.
keeps it seemingly every month. Steam announces like a new concurrent like record.
Yeah,
So
there are a lot of people playing games on PC. The question is like, how many of those people are playing console level games on PC versus like League of Legends, which is a fairly light game.
right, yeah,
Like
So-
the thing about PC and its growth is that it's largely driven by just there's parity now. You boot up a console and you have to deal with the same things you dealt with on PC for years.
That's true. It's not plug and play anymore. Yeah.
That argument's gone now. You can't just plug in your PlayStation 2, put a disc in, and it runs. Now you got to wait for your PS5 to load a system update, the game update, and make sure it's connected to the internet.
And a lot of
Like-
people aren't buying discs anymore either. Yeah.
Yeah, it's that parity's gone. Or
But
that-
I don't know. I remember like being very excited because Battlefield 3 was a PC first game.
God.
And that was huge. That was in like 2012 or something. And
Oh yeah.
games didn't get developed. Like they were either PC exclusive and they didn't come to console, or they were kind of sloppy console ports a lot of the time back then, like you were saying. But Battlefield 3, no. Like Battlefield was a PC first franchise and it got ported to console after.
And it ran well on PC. You could tell
Ran-
it was designed.
Ran extreme. I mean, if you played Battlefield 3 on the Xbox 360 or PS3, you got a significantly watered down experience because that was the first Battlefield to allow 64 player matches, and console didn't have it. But obviously the maps were all designed for 64 people, so if you were on console, you're running around on empty wasteland. It was
It was
not
as
very
great.
fun. Yeah.
And
according
then
to
once
my
you got
friends.
into 4, because I played it on console. It was not that fun. But then
Yeah.
you get to 4, where on the last gen now. God, I feel old.
Yeah, I know.
The last gen consoles, they could run on 64 players, and it was like a whole new experience. Some of those
Yeah.
small maps were absolute chaos.
Yeah. I want Returnal to be good on PC really bad.
I want Battlefield to be good again.
Yeah, well.
I'm sure Returnal will be good.
Yeah.
They seem to be hyping up that release a lot, so
That's another
man.
thing. That brings me back to our topic of the day, grind.
I was gonna say we got
We went on some
sidetracked.
tangents, but we brought it back. I think I don't like extrinsic grind rewards in roguelikes very much. Like, it was something that turned me off of Hades, even though everybody else loved it. And I don't think that they're wrong for doing it. It just made me like it a little less. Was that your max HP goes up, and like those sorts of rewards and things. When I see such a good opportunity for intrinsic, like for me to grow, I don't want my character to grow at the same time, I guess, is what I'm saying. And I feel that a little bit in Vampire Survivors, but that game is not, it's not really the same. Like,
Yeah, Vampire Survivors is its own beast for sure.
Even calling it a roguelike doesn't really feel right, because it's more an arcade game. Like,
It definitely. Oh my god, could you imagine a Vampire Survivors like arcade?
oh my
machine?
god, if they put that in a Starport, I'd be popping off.
That would
All it would
be-
need is a joystick. Like,
Yeah, that would be perfect.
I've been playing that on my phone, by the way. That mobile port is incredible and free. So,
You know what? You know what's wild? I still have not played it.
Really?
I've watched so many runs.
I
but I've never
highly
actually
recommend you
played
play it. I've never watched a run of it. I thought it looked so boring. But I was like doing, I don't know. It was like on a lot of people's Game of the Year list. So.
NL's got that magic ability to make any game look, maybe it's not the game, but he has the ability to entertain while doing anything.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I don't know, man. I have not been watching him play Marvel Midnight Suns.
Oh yeah, no, me neither. I have no interest in that game. I mean, like, apparently it has like Persona-esque, like social.
Oh, yeah, I
stuff,
think I would
which
enjoy
is
the game. I just don't
intriguing to
really
me,
enjoy
but
it.
like,
It gets in the way of his banter, I feel like, when he plays a story game.
yeah. One point I did want to bring up for grind, maybe the last point here, but like the idea of respecting the grind, right? Like, and a story I have for this is that back when I was heavy into Destiny 2, right? So you have the Crucible, which for anyone who doesn't know is like multiplayer, right? Like Slayer and Control and all of that. And then there's a ranked version of Crucible, right? And certain guns and weapons and stuff are locked behind attaining like the highest possible rank in ranked Crucible. So not only do you have to put a lot of time in, you have to actually get better at the game to achieve this extremely like unique and prestigious reward.
Is one of those
right?
the Telesto?
One of them might have been the one I'm specifically remembering from when I was into Destiny like a couple years ago. It was a handgun called Not Forgotten. And like, I remember like back when I was heavy into Destiny, I was in a clan, like I had friends playing this game every day. I had a subsect of friends who were super like grinding multiplayer rank every day to try and get this gun. Like I'm talking like 100+ hours, right? And they finally get this gun, right? Which is a huge achievement, right? It shows that they're not only put in the time, but their skill is now equivalent to that of like a master at Destiny gunplay, right? Like so, like it very much is a symbol of their
And that's like such a
skill at the game.
That's such a cool
which
way
is
to
really cool.
merge the personal and character growth. I actually really like that.
Are you ready for the plot twist?
I am. No, they didn't sell it. No.
Less than a year later, they made that gun buyable.
No.
Not through real money, through like in-game money, and it wasn't even that expensive.
Okay, that's
so like it instantly became worthless,
I'd
which is hilarious to me and like really sad because like I had friends who put in significant amounts of time and energy into getting that gun,
This is
and I feel like
This is gonna be a hot take. I think it's okay for guns like that to only be attainable for a certain amount of time. Like,
yeah, I agree. No, that's totally my stance.
I think
Like,
it's cool
that
to have a
gun-
cosmetic that is like semi-unique to you because you did a very cool thing. Like,
Yeah, I feel like that gun should have been locked behind that multiplayer rank like forever, right? Like I get that, like, as the meta evolves, certain things become obsolete. But, like, that's probably my biggest problem with Destiny at the moment is that, like, nothing seems like it really matters, right?
No, that
Because in a few months or so, there's a new set of guns, there's a new set of armor, there's new skills or whatever, and whatever you were doing at the time is rendered pointless. So, like, what's the point?
it's the ultimate disrespect.
In a game like that, yeah, especially for that kind of gun, right? Like they could have done it with like more PvE related weapons, but especially for like something like Not Forgotten, to have that just like be like a gun that you can just buy from a vendor, just roll up like in a PvE area and buy it. It's just like, what?
Yeah,
Like really?
that sucks. That sucks so bad.
So that sucks. And I do think that's at least how I see Destiny currently, like that seems to be an issue with the game where it just seems like what is the point?
But you can
right? Like if you're gonna keep doing that.
You can get yourself into such a predicament with that though. Like to mention Sea of Thieves again, a lot of
right.
people,
I mean, it's a double-edged sword, right? Because then it's like a balancing nightmare. Like you can't
Yeah.
balance like 10,000 guns at once, of course, right? Like, but like even if the gun isn't relevant in the meta anymore, it could still be like a relic of
Yeah.
like an
like
achievement
a
you made,
trophy,
right? Like,
yeah, like
yeah. So
yeah.
I don't know, man. I just thought that was a really dumb thing for Bungie to do.
That's the thing. Sea of Thieves, like a lot of people are saying, like, hey, you should make it level 50 instead. And part of me agrees with that. But then how do you like compensate the people that got to level 100? Like the people that ate their vegetables, the people that did it. How do they? Are you just slapping them in the face? Like, hey, you did all this work for nothing? Like, I don't know. That's why I think the solution.
Bungie definitely did.
Yeah, and I hate that. That sucks because I definitely I was into an old game called Mabinogi and I loved like it had something called titles, which were kind of like achievements you could equip to the end of your name. And I had one for like being in the beta of that game. And like if I play it today, nobody has that. Like I never see anyone else with it. And everybody's like, wow, how do you have that and be so bad at this game? And I'm like, haha, you don't have to be good at things to be old. Like,
right, yeah.
So
yeah, I don't know. Maybe Bungie could learn a lesson or two.
Yeah, I think in some situations like limited time stuff is okay for that because I think it's cool to get your community. I don't know.
But it goes beyond limited time. Like, why gate it behind such, like, it was skill gated, right? Like, you had to actually get better at the game and put in, like, dozens, if not hundreds of hours to get this gun. And then you just give it away. It's like,
that sucks
it is,
so bad.
it is such a slap in the face. Yeah.
I'd be very upset.
Yeah, I think the grind has to be respected. If someone's willing to put in the time and the effort to do something, the award should be like commensurate with that, and it should stay that way and not be revoked like 6 months later.
I can't believe we got through this episode without talking about RuneScape.
Oh, what do you have to say about RuneScape?
Nothing. It's just the most atrocious grind of
The
all
most
time.
grindy
The
game
most
of all time,
diabolically grindy game of all time.
Okay, so you all remember Ranga? He's been on the show a few times, right? Like he's super into RuneScape, right? And he tells me like when he hits like level like I don't know what was it like 93 on one of his stats, he's like, oh,
he's almost
I'm
halfway to
level. Yeah, I'm like halfway to like 99 now. I'm halfway to max. I'm like, dude, you're like a crazy
sick in the head.
Yeah. He's like when it all gets maxed out, that's when the game really starts. I'm like,
yeah,
I don't want to know what that game is.
20,000 hours in.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. But yeah. All right. Do we want to get into what we're playing?
I do.
Oh yeah.
All right, Mike, you have like many, right?
I have only one I really want to talk about, unless we want to stretch it out into two. But
I've got two I kind of want to talk about, but one's short.
Yeah, the one I want to talk about mainly is the Riftbreaker.
I haven't heard of this.
It's like Factorio if they cut out all the boring building aspects and just got straight to the tower defense.
Oh, so it's a tower defense game.
No, it's also a resource acquisition game. Like I still have to expand outwards and grab more of the 4 or 5 resources and build up my production to actually stay viable. But there's a bigger emphasis on combat and
interesting
tower defense.
I'm looking it up right now.
One of the key things that I like about it is I don't have to worry about belting resources. Once they're produced, they're teleported.
I like the way
So
this
I
game looks.
don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, tower defense is like one of those genres where I always think I'll be into it, and I never actually try it out.
It's a little bit of factory building, a little bit of tower defense,
You got
a lot
cool
of
little robot?
expanding. Yeah, and a little bit of RPG mechanics in there. Like you actually have to craft weapons for your robot to be able to kill massive amounts of creatures while you're expanding and taking more resources.
I do like. I don't know. I like the look of this. I might have to check it out.
I've had a lot of fun with it.
I want to say I saw it on Game Pass too. Is that right? Nina?
Maybe? I don't know.
I'll look later.
Who publishes it?
It does say similar to games you played, Factorio and Satisfactory on Steam. So
Yeah.
you got me.
Yeah, it plays really well, and it kind of cuts out all the really logistical thinking I have to do for Satisfactory and Factorio. Which sometimes I just want to go out and expand and exploit. I don't want to have to think about how I'm going to route it all back.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Riftbreaker PC, it is included on Game Pass. I'm gonna go ahead and install this bad boy. See if I can play it a little later.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed
That's
it.
why we have this section.
Yep.
I've been thinking of how to describe it, and I really did just settle on it's Factorio, but without all the elements that I really don't enjoy.
Yeah. There's a lot of value in that because there are some parts of Factorio that are a slog to get through. A grind, one might say.
I really don't enjoy just building massive amounts of belts and then rethinking all my decisions because it gives me like paralysis of I got to do this optimally or else I'm gonna have to redo it eventually.
Yeah, I always eventually just like decide like, optimization only matters to a certain extent. I actually like my I think of what work would tell me, which is like, I don't know, man. Sometimes developer time is worth more than optimization.
Yeah, this game it also emphasizes combat, which is actually a lot of fun to play through.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's really all I have to say about it. How many hours have I put into it already? 7.2 hours ish. And I'm not even through the campaign yet.
Connor, do you want to go next?
I would like to go next. I have been playing, drumroll please, Disco Elysium.
Oh.
It's fine.
How far are you?
It's fine.
It's fine? You're not into it?
I really, really don't like point and click games. I'm going to see this one through because people like it so much. And the writing and voice acting are incredible. But oh my god, is the beginning boring. Like books level boring. Like it's just so much.
I'm trying to remember what happens during the beginning.
It's just so much reading and your character walks so slowly. And it's just like, this is also just my personal bugbear, which is like, I don't like point and click games. I hate that style of control.
I don't think I play I think Disco Elysium might be like the only point and click game I've ever played, but like
it's definitely like very much a point and click adventure, and it has like some of the trappings. It doesn't have any of the like stupid nonsense puzzles yet, and I don't think it's going to. I think it is intelligently. It's more interested in telling a story than making me solve a puzzle. So far, it seems like, and I do like. I think the writing is good. It's a game that I'm gonna have to wait to be in the right mood for because point and click is very hard for me. And I will probably talk about it again once I finish it. But man,
yeah, I mean that game left such a strong impression on me.
Yeah,
I loved my time with that game.
I played like 2 hours of it, and I was like, God, I hope this game's not more than 10 hours long. And I looked up time to beat, and it was like 22 hours. And I like kind of grit my teeth and was like, I'm doing it. But oh man.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't like it, you don't like it.
I mean, I feel like it's one of those things where I just haven't. It's making me eat my vegetables. Like it just hasn't gotten good yet. Like, because I do like the world they're building. I think it's interesting. I like the story, the narrative. Like
because like the whole like lore really gripped me too. Like the Revachol and like what was happening to the world and how your character fits into that. And like it got to the point where I was like actively just reading up on all of this stuff in the game.
Yeah, and I like the lieutenant.
I don't know. It got its hooks in me.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm at least gonna give it another play session to see if I can get a little more into it. But it started.
I think it'll click with you.
Yeah.
I think you just need to wait for that moment, but I think it'll come.
Yeah. But I did play like how many hours? At least 2. I've played at least 2 hours of it.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. Do you? I guess.
Yeah. And
do you want to tell me how far you are?
I just now
Spoilers?
knocked the body down. I think I
managed. So you're still kind of
I'm very
in the
early.
beginning area.
Yeah. I have 106 minutes in it, and I went to the bathroom at least once. So you can cut off like a few of those minutes.
I mean, another really cool thing about that game is there's so many like winding paths that all.
I did get a game over
right?
once that I thought was interesting.
Yeah, like, I mean, even with that scenario with the body, there was like a dozen different ways that scenario could play out. So
yeah, and I do like
based off your stats, your dialogue choices, your checks, all of that.
I'm convinced that like there are semi-failure states. Like there's this kid throwing rocks at the body, and the game gives you every opportunity to just punch this kid in the face. And I was like, I'm not gonna do like I didn't want to do it, but not because I thought I would get a game over, but because I genuinely thought that like it's what the kid wants me to do, and I'm not going to give him that satisfaction. Like,
right, yeah.
So I am in character, and I do think it like uses the trappings of like a traditional tabletop RPG in some ways to do some cool stuff, and I like that a lot.
Yeah, and I do think like this game needs to be played like you don't need to like think about the game, if that makes sense. You just want to think about what you do or what the character would do in that moment, and the game will sort of like naturally lead you on the appropriate path.
I am afraid because it's been a couple days since I last played it, and I am afraid it's going to be something where I like have no idea what to do when I turn it back on, and I'm dreading that. So I'm probably going to wait until this weekend to play anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
I hope it picks up for you.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I like, you know me. If I hated it, if I hated it enough, I would have finished it in one sitting. And if a little bit less than that, I would have just put it down forever. But I actually plan on finishing this over time. I'm gonna take it a couple bites at a time until I build up an immunity to point and click games.
Right.
You wanna take?
Yeah. So I can go next. So I've got a couple of items in the stew, as it were, right? So I'm playing a couple very long games that I will probably not talk about until I finish them. We're talking like 80+ hour games, right? So
you want to name drop any of them and then not talk about them too much?
So I mentioned Witcher 3 before, right? Like maybe last episode or something. And I also started playing Divinity Original Sin 2 with some friends. Okay. And that's really
I didn't know it
cool.
was a multiplayer game. Maybe I should have known that.
Yeah, 4 people can do that.
Is it like a D&D kind of game almost?
Yes.
Okay. That sounds cool. I look
very
forward to hearing about
D&D
that.
inspired, yeah. So still at the beginnings of both of those. So like I would probably not expect to hear about those for a couple months, but just know that they're percolating in the background. One game I do want to talk about though is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure All-Star Battle R.
Is this Arc System?
I don't know. It is a traditional like fighting game, which I am not good at, right? Because like I've never really played fighting games.
I don't know. I think you whooped me pretty bad at Dragon Ball FighterZ.
Yeah, okay, but like we're still both like
okay, but like I'm not
garbage at that game.
Bad at it. I'm just not like I won a couple matches online and stuff.
Okay, let me put it this way: like if anyone put any effort into learning like one combo, they would be better than us. You know,
I knew
like,
combos in fighters, and I was like pretty good at Frieza.
Were you?
Yeah, I think you were better at that game than you're giving yourself credit for. Maybe you didn't beat me. I might be wrong. I might be thinking of somebody else.
I don't remember. Yeah, it's been a while. So it is a fighting game, right? So it does have like combos and stuff like that, which is cool. And I do like this game enough to where like I feel like I want to get good at it. I still have yet to win an online match, so that tells you how bad I am at it. But like,
how old is it?
It's very cool in the sense that so this is a mastered PS3 game. So this game is now out on modern consoles. It is 60 frames per second as it should be. The net code has improved. And it has characters from all 8 parts of JoJo. The roster is massive, right? And that's the sort of like what drew me to it, right? Like the attention to detail and like just the love for JoJo is like very evident in this game, right? Like every single attack, every single movement, even every single like idle animation is a reference to like a panel or something from the manga.
That's awesome.
So like it's very much a love letter to JoJo, and it has pretty much any character you want even a little, like, have any desire of being, right? Like, so, like, obviously all the characters from, like, the Ripple era, like, Jonathan and Joseph, and, like, the vampires, like, Dio, and, like...
Do you have, like, multiple
Cars
Dios?
and AC/DC. Yeah, there's 2 Dios.
Okay, cool.
Like, and, like, all the stands, too. And it's interesting because, like, they implement the mechanics differently, right? So for people that use Hamon, or, like, the Ripple... They have like breathing, so like they can use Hamon breathing to like fill up their meter, right? But no other character can do that, right? Because they have like control over their energy or whatever. And for stand characters, you can press R1 to turn your stand on, and then R1 again to turn it off. I'm talking in terms of like PlayStation controls. But like your combos change based off whether your stand is out or not. So that's another layer of complexity for stand characters. And what's funny is, like, some characters don't fit into any archetype. So some characters have their own archetype, of which they're the only member, which is really funny. Like, I think Dio from part 1 is a vampire, and there are no other vampires in the game. So he has, like, unique mechanics.
God, that must be a nightmare to learn, like,
yeah,
at a high level. There's just so much.
And, gosh, what else? There's a minor character duo from part 5, right? Which is 2 characters at once, and they're the only character like that as well. So they have their own unique mechanics, stuff like that. Part 7, which you probably don't know, because you like dropped out pretty early on JoJo.
I
right?
dropped before I even got to the mansion in part 3.
Okay, yeah. So JoJo, just FYI, keeps getting weirder and weirder, and that's one thing I really love about it. Part 7 is a horseback race across the United States while collecting the corpse parts of Jesus Christ, battling the President of the United States. So that's what Part 7 is. So every character for Part 7 has a normal mode and a mounted mode where they're on a horse.
No.
So you can just fight while you're on a horse.
And the main character
and have horse combos.
is a paraplegic.
Yes, the main character is a paraplegic in that part.
This is a 2D fighter, right? Like, not like a Soul Calibur.
I think, is it a 2D or is it a full 3D?
When you say 2D, do you mean like, you know, like left, right, only?
Like you're only moving left and right. Like you can't move forward or backward.
So you can do like, you can basically, right, you can do like dodges in the 3rd dimension, but that's basically it.
Okay.
So it's a Tekken, I believe.
But so like all the mounted characters have their own archetype. So whether or not you can like summon a horse, which is like pretty goofy.
That's so cool.
So yeah, this, like I said, this game, it would have been really easy to just not have them be on their horse and have them be like stand fighters, but they have their horse and they have their stands, right? So like a lot of love went into making this game like very accurately match like the JoJo series, and I really, really like that and respect that. Man, what else? Yeah, like the number of characters in that game is just bonkers. Like, it can't be overstated that, like, if you have a character in JoJo that you like, they're most likely in this game. Like, we're talking, like, Vanilla Ice is in this game. We're talking, like...
So it's like the Budokai Tenkaichi 3 of JoJo's, kinda.
I mean, not to that extreme, because I don't think any game matches Budokai Tenkaichi 3 in terms of, like, play as Frieza Henchman number 2.
You can't play as the background character from the mall episode in part 3. Like...
Let me put it this way. You can play as Speedwagon from part 1.
Nice.
And he has his own
he never even fought in the show,
archetype
did he?
as well. Exactly. Right? Like, so he just sends out like his goons to attack.
Oh, that's so good.
Because he used to be like a gangster, right?
Yeah.
Like before he met Jonathan. So like it's like that level of like, okay, even Speedwagon, right? Like it's ridiculous.
Speedwagon.
Yeah, I'm really digging it. I've been it's got like a bunch of modes, right? Like it's got like your traditional versus modes, it's got like a tournament mode, it's got like a single player mode where you play like through iconic battles in the series, as well as like what if scenarios. It's got like gallery mode where you can view like character info and stuff online, obviously. An arcade mode where you just like fight enemies like one after another and you're scored based off your performance. So it's very much like it's got a lot of things to do. And if you like fighting games, right, like fighting games that require like learning combos, memorizing inputs, that sort of thing, and you love JoJo, this is the perfect game for you. So one of those things I'm really into. The other, like, I've always really respected and liked fighting games, but it's just like, I don't know if I'm willing to spend the time to learn combos and stuff.
To do the grind, one might say.
Yeah, to grind out the combos. But yeah, as far as the JoJo aspects of this game go, they really, really nail it. So definitely huge thumbs up for me as a JoJo fan. And I'll hand it back over to whoever has another game.
Do you want to go again, Mike?
I guess I'll talk about MechWarrior 5.
I briefly tried to play that game and I couldn't get into it.
It's
kind of slow, right? Like,
I mean, you're piloting big mechs. It's not terribly slow, but it starts off a little slow.
It feels like you're playing a tank, kind of, right? Like,
yeah, you're driving around a 40, 50-ton tank that is designed to fight other 40, 50-ton tanks that walk on two legs.
That did not do it for me. Yeah.
So it does feel a little slow, but you do feel very lumbering and powerful.
Yeah. That's like what I'm hoping Armored Core doesn't feel like. I'm hoping Armored Core is a little quicker.
It might be. But I mean, I've been enjoying MechWarrior. I enjoyed the universe a lot, so just being able to exist. No, MechWarrior 5, it's a $40 game.
I might be thinking of MechWarrior Online.
It's a $30 game, actually. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's a full $30. MechWarrior Online's the free-to-play online game. MechWarrior 5 is MechWarrior 5 is a single-player game that kind of exists.
Yeah, I bet 5 is better than online, if I had to guess.
It does have co-op, but...
Interesting.
No, I'm having a lot of fun. The way it works is that all of the missions are randomly generated, and you just pick up contracts and go.
Oh, that's cool.
But...
So it has, like, quote-unquote infinite content in that way?
Oh, yeah. That's neat. There is a campaign with a story, but the story is kind of lackluster anyway. I've just been having fun piloting my mech around and almost getting my arm shot off in every engagement by the little walking trash cans.
You have a lot of customization and stuff you can do.
There's a good bit. There's mods that enhance it too. Like I have a mod that makes the mech lab a little larger, so I can add more content to my mechs.
Yeah.
But honestly, it plays really well. The combat's a lot of fun. I started playing Rock'em Sock'em Robots with another mech that decided to walk right up to me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a blast.
What's the gameplay like?
The best way to describe it is you're driving a tank that happens to have 2 arms and 2 legs for the most part.
And they're not humanoid mechs, right. Are they? They're like
they're humanoid. Okay. Most of them are fairly humanoid looking, but they control like a tank. Like your torso and your legs operate independently of each other.
So it's tank controls.
Yeah. So you could be walking one way on one mech. Most mechs have a torso limit where they can only twist about like 180 degrees full rotation from one end to the other. So you
could find yourself like having to whip around the other side.
Yeah. There are certain mechs that have a 360 torso twist, but they're the exception and not the rule.
Yeah.
Most of them fit like a 90 to 180 degree torso twist, and so your weapons can only aim in an arc. But I've had a lot of fun with it. It can get difficult, and some of the design quests produces like questions for me, like why am I fighting so many vehicles and not enough big robots? But it's still early in the game, and my big robot killing skills are not high enough to kill a lot of big robots.
Is it a long game? Like,
I don't know. I feel like it is though. Like I just started playing it.
No, I'm sitting here thinking there's like room for a cool mech roguelike, I think.
It definitely is.
There's room in the world for that. I might have to think about that a little bit.
I do know though that The only bad part about MechWarrior is that after every mission, I lose a substantial part of my gains, and sometimes all of them, repairing mechs.
Ah, it's one of those. Yeah.
Like if I lose a mech during a battle and I don't have insurance from the mission contract when I negotiated it, I'm gonna probably lose money on it.
God, I don't. Part of me thinks that sounds really cool, but part of me thinks that sounds really unfun. I'm kind of mixed on it.
If you negotiate properly and you expect, like sometimes one mission I just lost a mech out of nowhere and I'm not sure what killed it, but it did die. So
Yeah.
I had to pay and wait 20 days for it to be fixed.
I'm just thinking like, is business negotiation a fun game mechanic for me? I'm not sure.
It's contract negotiation. You only do it once for each contract.
Yeah.
And it's just a pip system, so you get six pips and you can throw it to whatever you want on there.
Okay.
Like you could throw a pip to a combat airstrike available, and then throw like 3 pips to damage coverage.
So not getting the insurance is kind of like a huge gamble. Like
yeah, it's a huge gamble.
Very confident.
You're confident you won't lose much. Like I usually get 1 or 2 pips in insurance, and usually it covers most of the damage. But lost mechs like like $1 million.
Yeah, I like
So-
that. Yeah, that's cool.
It's the only reason I lost money.
Yeah.
I wanted more salvage, and I'm not getting anything good for salvage. All I'm getting is trash cans.
Yeah. Well, I think I'll jump into my second game. I've been revisiting Death Stranding recently,
Oh man.
and it is with great alarm that I report I kinda like it this time. Kinda.
You're on the donkey arc.
I don't think I'm playing it the way you played it though. Like, I'm not laughing with the game, but I am having a good time laughing at it. Like, I think it's very silly, and it's
it's totally silly.
it's a cool way to.
Do you think I took that plot seriously?
I don't know. Everybody calls Kojima a genius, and I'm just like,
Oh no, it's like the most absurd, stupid thing I've ever seen in my
I
life.
think it's very silly,
But-
and I don't really understand what's going on mechanically or narratively.
But the vibes, though.
The vibes are good. It's been basically like I've been playing multiplayer games with my friends, or maybe solo sleeping some Sea of Thieves, and it'll be like 8 o'clock or something, and I have a couple, or maybe even 9 o'clock, and I have an hour or 2 to kill before I'm ready to go to bed, and I want something like relaxing to play. I fire up Death Stranding, I complete a few deliveries, I see some weird unhinged stuff happening, and I'm like, yeah, this is not bad actually. I'm starting to get it,
Yeah.
and I don't know if this is like, I don't know if I'm ready to say I even like the game that much, but I think I am ready to say I'll probably buy Death Stranding 2 on launch. Like, I don't know.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got it.
Yeah, I think I don't get it, but I do like, I don't know, as like a game that is pretty big and just something to turn my brain off at the end of the day. There's so much I don't understand. I don't know what the likes are for, and I don't care. I don't like, I have all these deliveries that I like don't do. I just don't bother with them because I don't understand what the reward is. So I only do the story
Right.
ones, and like I'll do the other ones if they're on the way, just because like I think it's kind of fun to give myself, because this is not a challenging game on
Exactly.
any level. So like giving myself a small amount of challenge in like just routing, I guess, is
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest though. Some of the deliveries can get challenging. I don't know if you've reached that point yet, but like,
I have not come across.
I mean, the entire challenge of this game is just traversal and figuring out how to get past
so
terrain.
I just finished the
So-
Fragile chapter, so I think I'm still
trying to remember.
kind of early in the game. Like, so like here's one challenge I ran into that like it doesn't even feel like, it feels like the game wasn't trying to be hard here. Like, a guy handed me a package not through the normal channels, and like I was supposed to realize that this was a bomb and that delivering it would do something bad. I did realize that, but I couldn't figure out what I was supposed to do with it. I thought I was supposed to give it to Fragile, but I couldn't find Fragile on the map. Turns out Fragile was right there on the map. It's just there's so many icons on the map that I couldn't find her. And that's like one of the examples where I'm like, maybe this game could have used a little more work. Like, I don't know. Like stuff like that just didn't feel
Yeah.
like I knew what to do. I knew how to do it. I just couldn't, like, the information was there and I couldn't find it. And that just felt silly. I also like, why don't they just give, like, it's a game about planning a hike. That's the game. Why is there not a topographical map in the game? Like, the 3D map thing that shows on your map screen, it is kind of difficult to, like, tell how steep an incline is going to be from that map. And I, like, just give me a topo map. Like, I'm an Eagle Scout. I could read it. And I, like, I don't know, man. I'm actually pretty good with maps. And I don't know if that's like an intentional challenge.
Yeah, I feel like part of the challenge is like reading the map, sort of getting a vague idea of the landmarks you're going to be traversing, and being like, okay, I'll stock up on this many ladders, this many whatevers to get past it, this many ropes or whatever.
I also like.
I think that's part of the appeal, but it has been a while since I visited Death Stranding, and I do wanna play the PS5 one before the next one.
It is a pretty game, although. It is a pretty game in some ways. Like, graphically is very impressive. I don't think it gives you anything interesting to look at that often, though. Like, the landscapes are pretty samey. And, like, the facial animation is not very good.
There's something about the emptiness in that game that is, like, peaceful to me. I enjoy the emptiness in that game.
Yeah, I like it. I don't know. The game's fine. It definitely got more fun once I had vehicles. And, like, was making the decision to take or not take a vehicle. And also, like, the servers went down. They gave it away for free on Epic Games, and that's where I've been playing it, because I was able to put it on my Steam Deck as well that way. And the servers have been down, so...
Oh, okay, yeah. So no social elements.
Yeah, the game was much better once, like, roads were built. Like, I wasn't the only one building the roads, and it actually, like...
Yeah, that asynchronous multiplayer kind of thing it has going for it is interesting, right? Because like it's seeing a road slowly get longer.
The game also doesn't work without it, in my opinion. Like,
yeah, I mean, that was one of the core tenets of the game.
Yeah.
So,
and so like playing it without the server was like arguably more challenging, but really just it took me longer to get everywhere. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I have not hit. You say there are challenging deliveries. I haven't run into. I have not game overed. I have not. Well, I did game over because I couldn't figure out what to do with that bomb, and I just blew up the city. But I don't really count that.
That's funny.
Because I couldn't tell if like maybe
I think once you get into like the mountains, some of the deliveries are harder. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not going to be like
like there was one where I had to park my truck
difficult.
And get out and climb a hill, like and that. But I don't. That wasn't a challenge really. It was just like. My truck couldn't get up the hill. Like,
yeah,
I still don't like call that a challenge. It was just like vaguely more interesting, I guess. But I do like, I don't know. There've been a couple parts where like I was like driving my motorcycle across a huge empty field, and an acoustic guitar started playing, and I was like, you know what? I get why people like this.
Yeah,
and I just think maybe it shouldn't have taken me. Maybe they should have put something like that a little earlier in the game. I don't even think, like, it wasn't even that late in the game. I just, it wasn't like one of those, you have to play for 10 hours before you get to the good part, because the good part is just walking. I just think maybe, like, the opening could have been a little stronger. But I do like it. I will probably finish it. And I'm, like, invested in the characters. Like, Fragile's story is interesting. Higgs is an interesting character. I want to know who the soldier is. Would
love to hear your thoughts on Die Hardman.
Yeah, I don't really care about him at all. Could not care less about Sam. He's just an annoying whiny baby.
His name is Sam Porter Bridges.
Yeah, he's very annoying.
Get it?
I also I know the twist, which is kind of annoying. Like, I know that like he's not going to get what he wants when I get to the West Coast, and that makes me sad. Like, I wish that had been a surprise to me. And I see some foreshadowing for it. And I'm curious whether or not I would have picked up on it if that hadn't been spoiled for me.
Do you know what's funny to me? Like, I barely remember anything about this game's story.
Really?
Like, the main thing I remember is, like, the hiking.
Really? That's interesting, because
I mean, of course I remember, like, Princess Beach, because, like, who could forget that?
I think the little stories are kind of interesting. I think it delivers on them pretty poorly. Like, there was one I did recently. There's, like, the scrap man or something, the scrap junker or something. And he's a guy who builds stuff out of scrap, and he's in love with someone called the chiral artist, I think. Or maybe it's the chiral artist's daughter.
I vaguely remember this.
And, like, they're like, I looked everywhere for you. I looked everywhere for you. And you can, like, not quite see where one is from the other. Like, it's not a very long walk. They did not look very hard for each other.
Yeah.
Like...
I forget the reasoning, but, like, no one goes outside anymore.
Yeah,
I guess because of the time rain or whatever.
Yeah, the
and
time
ETs.
fall. Yeah, and like
Yeah.
part of me gets that, but part of me is also like, why did I have to carry her? Like, obviously I'm there to protect her. Why did I have to put her on my back and carry her? Like, you can walk, your
That's
legs
your job.
work. Like,
That's it's your honor as a FedEx man.
yeah, it's a weird game.
It's so weird. Like it's Kojima without anyone to say no, for better or worse.
It also, like, it takes you a very long time to get guns. And I briefly was like, cool, I have a gun now. But now, like, none of the enemies are anything. I just shoot them and they're gone. Like,
yeah, the guns like totally destroy the enemies.
yeah.
What was I gonna say? Like, don't you make grenades out of like
Your blood
your
and your
piss
poop
and your blood
pee.
and your poop?
Yeah, and your dead skin, I think. Yeah. And that was like,
So weird.
I think that's stupid, but if Fragile can teleport, maybe I can make a grenade out of my poop. Like, I don't know. That's like your power, I guess.
Yeah, I'm starting to remember some plot twists, but I if you asked me to tell you the plot of Death Stranding right now, I could not do it, like, for sure.
But I will,
I
like,
just remember like moments from that game.
I'm having a good time with it. That's probably what I'm going to play when we're done recording. Like, I'm not like addicted to it. Like, it's not, I don't look forward to playing it at the end of the day so much. It's more like just a nice chill thing to do when nothing else is going on. Something that like you can complete a delivery in Death Stranding pretty quick and just be done with it. And it's also a very easy game to, like, it's not keeping me up at night. It's not exciting. There are very few exciting moments. And, like, the combat is so boring. Like, you can just straight up mash the punch button and you're going to win.
Yeah, the combat is really bad.
Yeah.
But like I try not to be in combat. Like whenever I'm like whenever I find like actual other humans, I try to like play it like Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, it's probably
and
more
sneak
fun that
past
way.
them.
I'm just really bad at that. So I keep getting caught. I also, like, I don't know. Sometimes I just don't want to deal with it, so I just, like, plow my truck through the middle of their base because it's the fastest route. And, like, sometimes that works, and sometimes they deactivate my truck and I fall out of it, and I have to, like, fight them until my truck reactivates. And I get that they're punishing me for not playing the game the way they want me to, but also, like, I don't know. I just wanted to see the weird cutscene at the end of the delivery. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a very weird game. That's the best way to put it.
I wish people talk to their real delivery drivers the way they talk to Sam. Like, I wish when FedEx showed up.
Oh, like, yeah, like everyone thinks Sam is like the best.
Yeah,
like it's just like what you're doing is amazing.
This package is in such good shape. Thank you. Like, maybe they could stand to hear that a little more often. They,
Yeah.
And I don't even know. I've never delivered a package in poor condition, so I don't even know what they say. But, like,
yeah,
because the game's not hard.
Yeah,
it's oof. Or at least not yet.
I'm telling you, I remember later on.
Yeah,
some of the missions will be harder.
Like, some of the stuff you unlock is like they make a big deal that I can, like, tell. Like, I can predict weather now. I can tell where timefall is. I have not looked yet because I just don't care. Like, I just put everything in my truck and I drive right through it. I do not care. Like,
that's funny.
and, like, the stuff is very durable. Like, I hit a cliff and I was like, man, I know that it's supposed to be hard to get off this cliff, but I'm just going to see what happens when I drive my truck over it. And everything was fine. And I just kept going.
That's really funny.
Yeah. But I don't know. I do like it.
There is like a sandboxy element to it too.
Yeah.
That you can like try things and it is cool how like more and more mechanics just keep getting added the more you play. So like by the time you're in like the last third of that game, you have like so many traversal options and it just keeps getting more fun because more options means more fun.
I have no idea how long it is and I don't really want to look it up because I think it's one of those games where like the weird surprises are the best part. So
yeah, I would agree with that. Well, that's cool. Like, I'm glad you gave it a second chance.
Yeah.
You were checking it out.
That's all I got for it. That's not bad.
All right. So I think that's it for the first episode of the year. Thank you, Connor and Mike. You can follow us at Podcast Game Talk on Twitter. Apparently, you all don't listen to this, so I'm just going to end the episode. According to Connor, at least.
I have had multiple reports from multiple people that had no idea we had a Discord because they just... I know a lot of people that, like, where you timestamp stuff sometimes, Like they'll just listen to the parts they wanted to hear and then turn the podcast off.
I mean, that's fair. That's why the
point.
timestamps are there. So
no, I think yeah, you kind of hit it out of the park on that.
Well, we snuck one in at the beginning, so
It did sound like a robot, though.
Well, that's
Follow us on Discord.
yeah, that's just my voice, dude.
It's just
That's
the
because
way
I
you,
am
like,
a robot, actually.
It's just enunciated it weird.
All right, well, see you later. Bye.